Women once drained their own blood before parties, on purpose, because looking half dead was fashionable. That's not even the most insane thing on this list. By the end, you'll understand that every generation believes their beauty standards are completely normal, and every generation is wrong. Let's start mild. Relatively, 18th century women wanted rosy cheeks, natural flush, the kind that signals health and youth. Their solution, nightshade, also known as belladonna, also known as a plant that causes hallucinations, heart failure, and death in sufficient doses. They dropped diluted belladonna directly into their eyes. It dilated the pupils into wide, dark pools, considered intensely beautiful at the time. As a side effect, it also caused blurred vision, light sensitivity, and with repeated use, permanent blindness. The name belladonna literally means beautiful woman in Italian. They named a poison after the thing it was supposed to create, and they kept using it anyway. But belladonna was just the warm-up, because the next case doesn't blind you. It rots your face off from the outside in. Elizabethan England had one beauty standard: be pale, not fair, not light, marble. The kind of pale that said, I have never touched sunlight, I have never worked a day in my life, and I am better than you. The product was called Venetian ceruse, white lead mixed with vinegar, pressed into a paste, applied directly to the face. Queen Elizabeth. I wore it so thick her portraits look almost cartoonishly ghostly. And she wasn't alone. The entire court wore it. It was a status symbol, a signal of wealth and refinement. Here's what the lead actually did to the skin underneath. It blocked pores completely, stopped the skin from breathing, and slowly, steadily dissolved it. The skin grayed, sores appeared, hair fell out in patches. The complexion the ceruse was supposed to create was being actively destroyed by the ceruse itself. Their solution? More ceruse. Apply heavier layers to cover the damage. By the end of her life, Elizabeth's skin underneath the paste was, by most historical accounts, almost entirely gone. She was poisoning herself daily, layer by layer, just to look alive. But at least the lead stayed on the outside of the body. The Victorians decided to eat it. Arsenic wafers, little biscuits, sold at pharmacies, advertised in women's magazines, taken every morning like a vitamin. The pitch was elegant. Arsenic would enter the bloodstream and lighten skin from the inside out, creating a luminous, glass-like complexion without any topical product. And short-term, it actually worked. The slow poisoning caused a flushed, almost translucent glow. Long-term, it caused nerve damage, hair loss, organ failure, and death. Cumulative arsenic poisoning has no antidote. Every wafer added to a total that the body couldn't clear. Women knew the risks. They took them anyway. Some physicians warned against it. The warnings were printed in the same magazines as the advertisements. Women read both and bought the wafers. That's not ignorance. That's something more disturbing. The calculation that the beauty was worth the dying. We're only 3 cases in. It gets significantly worse. Marie Curie discovers radium. The world becomes obsessed with radiation. And within years, someone looked at one of the most dangerous substances ever identified and thought, skincare. The brand Thoradia launched a full cosmetics line built around radioactive thorium and radium, marketed as luxury beauty products. Glowing packaging, elegant bottles. The tagline promised a healthy, radiant glow. They also sold radioactive soap, radioactive toothpaste, radioactive face powder. The marketing treated radiation the way we now treat retinol. Energizes cells, promotes renewal, revitalizes skin, except it was quietly destroying bone tissue instead. Here's the part that makes this genuinely unhinged. This wasn't the Dark Ages. Scientists already had documented concerns about radiation exposure. Marie Curie herself was visibly deteriorating from her own work with the substances. Her hands were scarred. Her health was failing. Her personal notebooks are so radioactive today that researchers need full protective equipment just to open them. The face cream kept selling. It wasn't until customers started developing radiation burns, aggressive bone tumors, and, in documented cases, losing structural jaw tissue entirely that the products were pulled. The glow was real. It just came from inside the bone. And yet, as insane as rubbing radiation on your face sounds, at least you were doing it to yourself. The next case involves hiring something alive to do the work for you. Victorian-era pharmacies openly sold sanitized tapeworm pills. Real product. Real advertisements. Full-page ads in newspapers. The pitch. Swallow a pill containing tapeworm eggs. Let the worm hatch inside your intestines. It eats a portion of everything you eat, so you lose weight effortlessly. No dieting, no exercise. Just a quiet roommate in your gut who handles the excess. What the advertisements didn't emphasize, tapeworms can grow to 10 meters in length. They cause malnutrition by consuming nutrients your body actually needs. They can migrate from the intestines to the brain, the eyes, and the spine, causing seizures, blindness, and death. The word sanitized in the name was doing enormous work. Some researchers debate how many of these pills were genuine versus fraudulent, meaning some customers were paying for something even more useless than a tapeworm. But the market was real. The demand was real. Women wanted weight loss badly enough to try swallowing parasites. But parasites, at least, had a logic. You hired them for a service. What comes next had no logic whatsoever. It was pure performance of sickness as beauty. Tuberculosis, the bacterial lung disease that killed 1 in 4 Europeans during the 19th century, had a look. Victims became thin. Their skin turned pale. A feverish flush sat high on their cheeks. Their eyes grew large and dark as the body exhausted itself. They were visibly, elegantly, tragically wasting away. And somewhere in the cultural machinery of the Victorian era, that look became desirable. Healthy women began engineering the appearance of dying. They wore tightly laced corsets to suppress appetite and create a wasted silhouette. They used lead and chalk powders to achieve the consumptive pallor. They pinched their cheeks for the fever flush. And the most extreme version. Before parties and social events, fashionable women applied leeches behind their ears. Voluntarily, to drain blood. To arrive pale, faint, and visibly weakened. Fainting at a party wasn't an accident. It was the goal. It was applauded. There is a document from 1828 in which a fashion writer praises a socialite for achieving a becoming languor. Language that translates roughly to, she looked like she might not survive the evening, and it was stunning. People were dying of tuberculosis, while the living performed it as fashion. Now, after all of that, here is the question that actually matters. Every person in every one of these cases believed they were doing something reasonable, something culturally normal, something that made sense given what beauty meant at their moment in history. The woman rubbing lead on her face wasn't stupid. She was following the exact same logic you follow when you buy whatever the algorithm told you to buy last week. Every generation has its Venetian ceruse. Every generation has its tapeworm pill. The only thing that changes is which poison looks legitimate.